Welcome to the Korea Pro podcast. I'm your host, Chungmin Kim, the editorial director of Korea Pro.
And I'm John Lee, the editor of Korea Pro.
Join us for a weekly 15-minute conversation as we dive into the most pressing stories shaping South Korea and dissect the most complicated ones for you.
From politics to culture, technology to society, we've got you covered. So stay ahead of the curve and never be sidelined again.
So get ready for a fresh perspective on South Korea's news. This is the Korea Pro podcast.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Korea Pro podcast. It is now Thursday, November 14th. It is a little past 3 p.m. and we have a lot of things to discuss. And joining me today is Korea Pro's junior news reporter, Joon Ha Park.
Hi, thanks for having me back.
It's always good to have you on the show, Joon Ha. All right, so the U.S., there's been quite a few developments in the Trump transition team.
Indeed. So Senator Marco Rubio is Secretary of State, Mike Waltz, and also Pete Hegseth.
Right.
What is Marco Rubio's agenda?
Okay, so when it comes to Marco Rubio, he was a very unexpected choice. Now, unexpected for me because Rubio was actually an establishment choice. He is a foreign policy establishment. He has served in the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and I think he will have a very easy time getting confirmed in the Senate. Now, when it comes to South Korea, Marco Rubio is going to be a very familiar face. He has been the senator from Florida, he's been part of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and he is also well known in East Asia. In fact, Rubio has been personally sanctioned by China. So he is likely, we don't know how this is going to work out, but can Rubio visit China to meet with his Chinese counterparts? But whatever the case may be, the man is a China hawk, which is why he got sanctioned. And so because he's a China hawk, we're not quite sure how that will impact South Korea. Will the U.S. try to get South Korea much more on board with its anti-China policies? So that could have a bit of an effect. Also, Rubio really does not like the Cuban government. And we have to remember that back in February, South Korea had a major symbolic coup when we established diplomatic ties with Havana. But now that Rubio is in the picture, he's going to say, no, you are not going to develop that ties any more than that. Potentially. And so if we do that, then Cuba might say, well, we tried to have diplomatic ties with South Korea, but it didn't work out. So we're going to go back to being friends with North Korea again. So that's something that we might have to be looking forward to.
Right.
Now, the next person that we have to talk about is, of course, the Secretary of Defense.
Right.
Pete Hegseth.
Indeed.
I don't know who this person is.
Right, so he's a U.S. Army veteran, and he's a former or current Fox News host, and he's set to lead the Department of Defense under the second Trump administration.
Of course he's a talking head on Fox News. So this is what's not surprising. I expected these kinds of people to be just strung along.
Sure. I mean, we can talk about whether he is appropriate, but of course, in the implications for South Korea, his level of seniority compared to Secretary Austin, for example, is something that's incomparable.
4-star general versus a major. Now, granted, there have been other secretaries of defense who, have never served in the military or had even a lower rank than Hegseth. But the thing is, none of them have ever gone into the Pentagon saying, I'm going in with the intention to fire a bunch of people.
Essentially. So, I mean, Hegseth, he hasn't had command authority in the military, as we've said. He's been a major, but best we can say that he's had the command not for the full U.S. Army.
Does he know anything about bilateral or trilateral military exercises?
See, that's the issue. So the Trump administration, what some defense experts are worried about is that the trilateral exercises with South Korea, Japan, and the United States that happened just yesterday, the Freedom Edge drills, will not be continued or potentially not be continued during the second Trump administration, especially under Hegseth. But, of course, other defense experts are saying that the trilateral ties between Japan, South Korea, and the United States are currently at too strong point for basically combined enemy in North Korea.
The word currently is carrying a lot of weight there.
Absolutely.
Over the past week, whenever I read about these drills, I'm like, it's like seeing a cancer patient that is on his deathbed. It feels terrible. You know that they're going to go away soon.
Essentially, I mean, the Biden administration has been very straightforward in its support for the trilateral ties and the bilateral relations, especially during Camp David back in August 2023. But right now, we still have to wait and see whether a Trump administration will be on the same line as Biden.
Sure. Now, this person typically does not get involved with Korea all that much, not directly, not as much as the Secretary of State in Defense, but that is the incoming National Security Advisor, and that's Mike Waltz, who is a representative from Florida. Now, I had to unearth some of these old videos that Mike Waltz gave while he was in Congress, but during a House committee meeting, he was asking General LaCamera whether or not South Korea would be willing to allow USFK forces that are stationed in South Korea to be involved in any sort of conflict between China and Taiwan. Now, Mike Waltz made this comment back in 2022. And we have to remember that that same year, President Yoon Suk-yeol, when asked that same question, said that if there's any sort of conflict between China and Taiwan, it will likely happen at the same time when North Korea conducts some kind of quote-unquote provocations. And he said that the top priority for the U.S. ROK alliance would be North Korea. Now, there's already going to be disagreements right on that front. And so this might be something that comes back to really haunt President Yoon going forward.
And moving on, we've got the APEC summit in Peru that's happening all throughout this week. And South Korea and Japan, it was just announced that they'll be likely meeting on the sidelines for a bilateral summit.
I'm sure that Yoon and Ishiba will have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, so this summit does come as we've already noted in past podcast episodes that the two nations mark 60 years of normalized diplomatic relations. And a milestone both leaders are quite eager to celebrate next year.
Well, it's not 60 years yet. That's next year, right?
Yeah, and they're reaffirming a commitment to strengthening the diplomatic and economic ties, and they'll likely touch on the recent regional security issues, especially related to North Korea's participation in the war against Ukraine on the Russian side and shared economic interests.
Right. Both countries are likely going to face tariffs when Trump enters into office in January. Both countries have security interests with the U.S. when it comes to North Korea, and to a lesser extent, from South Korea's perspective, China as well. So they have a lot to discuss, but they're also probably going to meet with Joe Biden while they're in Peru, aren't they?
Exactly. So they'll meet on the sidelines, and it also builds on from Camp David ties in August 2023, where they agreed to bolster trilateral cooperation. And Jake Sullivan also emphasized the importance of formalizing this trilateral relationship. Going forward, however, with the Trump administration coming in, both leaders will also want to meet with Donald Trump.
Right, and what does formalizing this partnership even mean? Because, they can have as many declarations as they want. If it's not a treaty, the next president, Donald Trump, can very easily say, what declaration?
Exactly. So, I mean, we can play devil's advocate and say that this is just another symbolic meeting that's showing a continuation of coordination on key issues. However, both leaders will be quite eager. By both leaders, I mean Yoon and Ishiba, will be pretty eager to meet with Trump to consolidate the trilateral ties.
Sure, and there's a very good chance that if the meeting takes place, yes, both leaders will meet with Trump independently, but at some point, Yoon and Ishiba will likely want to sit down together to talk with Donald Trump. Both countries are facing the same issues with Trump, and it's likely going to be more beneficial for these two leaders to form a united front when talking with Donald Trump. So whether or not they'll meet in Peru or fly over to D.C. right away after the meeting, we don't know if that's going to happen, but I'm sure that they're talking about that.
And just to kind of add a few more talking points on South Korea's role in this APEC going on this week. So South Korea is set to host the APEC summit
next year
in Gyeongju. So the Yoon will probably most likely outline South Korea's objectives. In going ahead with the APEC summit then. Topics could include themes like digital transformation, environmental sustainability, and economic resilience across the Asia-Pacific. And President Yoon will probably plan to publicly condemn North Korea's involvement in Ukraine and alleged military support to Russia.
Okay. Now, we've talked a lot about foreign policy, so let's quickly move on to domestic politics. Now, I confess that I've not been keeping as close an eye on domestic politics because there's been so much happening overseas. And you've written about Byung Tae-gyun and the different kinds of scandals that has erupted, that has engulfed President Yoon and the First Lady. Now, could you walk us through this? What's been going on there?
Yeah, so it kind of is all centered around this election law violation, where Yoon and the First Lady are allegedly involved in a election law scandal involving a self-proclaimed political broker.
Now, what did this broker do?
So this political
This
broker...
broker's name is Byung Tae-gun, by the way.
Exactly, yeah. He's basically, just to start off from the start, the Democratic Party, they released recordings on October 31st.
Phone calls, right?
Phone call recordings, alleged phone call recordings, suggesting Yoon discussed a political nomination with the power broker of a 3-term lawmaker who was going for a seat in the local by-elections in 2022.
And the First Lady was supposedly involved in this call as well. Okay, but walk us through this. Why is this a scandal? What was the violation of the law? What happened?
Yeah, so South Korea's Public Official Election Act that sort of mandates that government officials, including the president, cannot use their positions to participate in any political activities.
And this is the crux of the matter. Apparently, he was not neutral.
Yeah, so whether it's internal party nominations or general elections, campaign planning or polling, individuals who violate this law, who are in a government official position, can face up to 3 years in prison. And that is why we saw both former presidents, Park Geun-hye and Lee Myung-bak, face criminal convictions over election law violations in a similar case.
And that's the thing that blows my mind. Park Geun-hye and Lee Myung-bak both went to prison for similar violations of the law. And Yoon Suk-yeol, who was the prosecutor at the time, was the one who put them there in prison.
Exactly.
Why would he violate this law if he did?
Well, if he did, we're going on the basis, and he's looking to basically just to track back and explain this further. So the by-election held for Changwon's Uicheong district in South Gyeongsang province saw the 3-time lawmaker Kim Yong-sun be nominated by Yoon, allegedly, through a phone call with Byung Tae-gun, secure the nomination.
He won that seat, didn't he?
She did, yeah. She did.
Sorry.
Yes, yeah. She did ultimately win the seat, despite lacking prior ties to the constituency that she was running for. And the recording, as I mentioned, there's still some reservations within the party that can be identified by Yoon, and Myung reportedly expressed gratitude for the favor, saying that Yoon discussed the nomination process with the party, and Kim Yong-sun eventually won the seat. And the DP,
the Democratic Party,
is saying that they still have quite a number of recordings left within their file cabinet.
Death by 1,000 cuts. They're not releasing all of the recordings at once.
Yeah. So as I've said within the article as well, the DP, the Democratic Party, they deserve a slight bit of credit on the way that they've strategized, allegedly on releasing these recordings
one at a time, slowly bleeding the president dry.
There was also a recent recording that was released just yesterday involving Myung and him discussing his relations with the First Lady as well. The DP also released strategically after Yoon's apology press conference that we saw last week. So we still need to see how this all plays out, but the experts that I've been speaking to have said that although there are similarities between Park Geun-hye and Lee Myung-bak and the former presidents that violated the same election law, it's unlikely that there will be a similar sort of social resolve against the President Yoon. And President Yoon and the presidential office will have to navigate this very carefully going forward.
Okay.
Korea Pro, your gateway to expert South Korea intelligence. Korea Pro helps you stay on top of the most important issue of the day with a daily executive briefing every morning and a curated overview of Korean and international headlines. Get access to our analysts' comprehensive insights on South Korea's economy, politics, security and society. Keep track of upcoming events and developments with our Monday Week Ahead newsletter. If you need an overview of the week that was, stay updated with our weekly podcast. Korea Pro transforms complex information into actionable business intelligence for companies, policymakers and researchers covering the South Korea portfolio. Visit koreapro.org/podcast and never be sidelined again.
Now we have to move on to the week ahead. Now, what Joon Ha was just talking about, this death by 1,000 cuts, all of these phone recordings, it is related to what's going to happen tomorrow. Now, as I said, we're recording this on Thursday. By tomorrow, I'm talking about Friday, probably when you're listening to this. Democratic Party leader Lee Jae-myung is finally going to get his verdict on Friday on whether or not he violated election laws. If he's found guilty, if he has to pay anything more than $1 million won, which is about $700 American, or if he faces some kind of a jail sentence, then he will be disqualified from running for any public office for the next 5 years, which means that he will be disqualified from running for the presidency in 2027. So this is partly related to the Democratic Party strategy of releasing these recordings one at a time, trying to weaken the president's argument, saying, hey, if our guy's going to prison, you're not all that far off from prison either. So there's a tit for tat going on right now. Now, whether or not Lee Jae-myung will be found guilty, we will let you know in the week ahead newsletter, which will be sent to your inboxes by Monday at 2 p.m. So if you'd like to know more, please subscribe. Have a good weekend, everyone.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for tuning in.
If you want to know more, sign up for our daily executive briefings. We brief you on all you need to know from the past 24 hours and why they matter every morning in your inboxes.
Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast for your weekly dose of insight. And until next time, I'm Jungmin Kim.
And I'm John Lin. Stay connected, stay informed, and we'll see you next time on the Great Pro Podcast.